Hello and welcome. Are you noticing some issues with your Zurn Wilkins 475ST reduced pressure principal assembly? No worries. We'll go through some troubleshooting and maintenance steps to get your valve functioning properly. Remember, only certified personnel should perform maintenance on backflow preventers. Faulty maintenance could result in an improperly functioning assembly. Testing should be done at least once a year or more, as specified by your local plumbing codes. Here are some common problems that may signal a need for maintenance. Sudden or rapid spitting of water from the relief valve. A light intermittent drip. Or a heavy continuous discharge of water. First, let's gather some of the tools you'll need to complete your maintenance. We'll begin by showing you some diagnosing techniques to help you troubleshoot where your unit is having troubles. If you notice water discharging from the relief valve vent, begin by closing the number 2 shutoff valve. Inspect the vent. If the discharge from the vent stopped or is reduced, you've diagnosed that the number 2 check valve is the source of the leak and may need maintenance. If water continues to discharge from the relief vent at the same rate, slowly open test cock number 4 until the flow of water matches the discharge volume. If the water discharge stops or is reduced, then you've diagnosed that the number 1 check valve is the source of the leak and may need maintenance. This is the most common problem. If water continues to drip from the relief valve, then you've diagnosed that the relief valve is the source of the leak and may need maintenance. Now that you've diagnosed your problem, let's take the valve out of service and begin disassembly. Begin by closing the outlet shutoff valve. Then close the inlet shutoff valve. Open the number 2, 3, and 4 test cocks to release the internal pressure. Leave them open during check valve removal and reinstallation. Loosen and remove the 2 nuts, bolts, and grooved coupling from around the access cover. To remove the number 1 check valve, grasp one of the exposed ends of the plastic retainer. Push down and pull outward, and it will spiral out of the groove. Then, remove the check valve by grasping the handle and pulling straight up and out of the assembly. Repeat the previous 2 steps to remove the number 2 check valve. Pro tip: always service the check valves one at a time to avoid mixing parts. Start by removing the hardware and O-rings from the back of the number 1 check valve assembly. Separate the seal retainer from the assembly to expose the seal ring. Inspect the seal ring for cuts or embedded debris. If the reverse side of the seal is unused, the seal ring can be flipped and used temporarily until a new seal is obtained. Using your fingernail, inspect the seat edge for nicks. Inspect the check O-ring and replace it if it's cut or damaged in any way. Next, inspect the O-rings located under the washers on the retainer bolts for cuts. Reassemble the check valve by performing the previous actions in reverse, stopping after tightening the bolts, washers, and O-rings on the back of the check valve. Using your finger, inspect the valve cavity and seating areas. If any portion of the seat assembly is damaged or missing, or if the seat sealing edge is damaged in any way, do not attempt to field repair it. Contact a Zurn Customer Care representative for assistance. Then repeat the previous maintenance steps on the number 2 check assembly. Now we'll flush the valve body with water to remove any debris. Note any rust or damage. Severe nicks or erosion in the O-ring bore normally require body replacement. Before reassembling the unit, refer to the maintenance instructions on Zurn.com. There are slightly different instructions depending on the size of your unit. To reinstall the check valves, begin by lubricating the number 2 check O-ring. Next, install the number 2 check valve into the valve body. Install the retainer into the body groove by inserting the end with the short tab into the notch above the check, sliding your hand around the face of the retainer, pushing it into the groove as you go. The retainer should snap into place when fully seated. Then, lubricate the number 1 check O-ring and install the number 1 check assembly into the valve body. Then, install the plastic retainer into the body groove. Reassemble the access covers and grooved couplings. Make sure that the ends of the couplings touch each other when they're fully bolted. Close any remaining open test cocks and place the valve back into service. If you've diagnosed that the relief valve has a leak, then perform the following steps. Begin by disconnecting the sensing tube. Note the position of the hose fitting on the cover. This fitting should be in the same position when the relief valve is reassembled after repair. Remove the bolts alternating sides. Carefully remove the relief valve cover. It's spring-loaded. Then gently pull on the plunger to remove the cartridge assembly. Disassemble the cartridge by unscrewing the relief valve retaining screw. Inspect the seal ring for cuts or any embedded debris. Turn it over or replace it if it's damaged. Carefully reassemble the cartridge assembly. Tighten the retainer screw to 13 to 17 inch-pounds. Inspect the diaphragm and O-rings for damage. Replace any required parts. Inspect the cover bore for damage and clean it if needed. Apply a light coat of lubricant to the plunger O-ring. Inspect the relief valve seat for wear on the seating surface. If it's damaged, replace the seat and the seat O-ring. Now install the spring over the seat guides. Insert the cartridge assembly back into the relief valve body. Replace the relief valve cover and cover bolts. Make sure the sensing tube port is in the same position. Reconnect the sensing tube. And just like that, we're finished. Thank you for watching this troubleshooting and maintenance video for the Zurn Wilkins 475 stainless steel end pattern reduced pressure principal large backflow preventer. We hope you found this information useful. If you need additional support, please reach out to the Zurn Customer Care team. And thanks for watching. Visit Zurn's YouTube channel for many more installation and troubleshooting videos.